You are not lazy. You feel overwhelmed. Today I'm going to talk about how to overcome feeling overwhelmed. And I don't want to say being overwhelmed, or I don't want to say I am overwhelmed. And it's important that you don't say these words either. And the reason why it's so important to not assign these words to yourself is because words are powerful. We know that words are powerful because words can change the course of history, and they have done so in the past, and they will continue to do so in the future, right? That doesn't change. That's just the nature of reality, that words are powerful. Like, I had a uncle who said to me, I think this was 15 years ago, that like the history of pharmacy will never be complete without your name being there. And that blessing that he put on me pushed me throughout pharmacy throughout my whole life so far. But anyway, but at the same time, I've also had people tell me, Oz, you're never going to learn how to sell. And that traumatized me for years. So, like, I mean, hey, I'm stronger than that now. But, like, but the reality is, words can really hurt you or they can help you. And we should be really careful when we assign words to ourselves. But it is true to feel a certain way. But one thing we know about feelings is that feelings can change. Feelings have changed and they will continue to change. We don't always feel the same way about things. Sometimes we can feel differently. But what we do know is when we say I am, it's more of a state of being rather than a state of feeling. But anyway, so I'm going to talk about laziness later, but I want to focus on those of you who know you work hard but feel overwhelmed. And this reminds me of when I was going to university, I was studying pharmacy. I'd wake up really early and get into central London. And when I get up early in the morning, around, let's say, 5 a.m., 5, 6 a.m., I would get to the train platform and I would see people who are already up at that same time going into work. And when I get into central London, what do I see? I see thousands of people, thousands. So it's just like, we are not lazy. We're just not. At least for the most part. For the most for the heartbeat of the economy, we're not lazy. Like, most people work 5 days a week, 9 to 5. It's not lazy. Most of like We spend most of our lives at work, right? I'll get on to laziness, but to those of you who are working 5 days a week, which is most of us, like, it's not laziness. So why then is it that we're still struggling to pay bills? Why then is it that we're still not really able to move forward? Why then is it that we feel overwhelmed when everybody's doing the same thing and everybody's not overwhelmed? We know that to be true. Now, the reason why we feel overwhelmed is because we haven't been able to disconnect from the outside. And that may feel weird, and I'll explain that. So, to those of you who feel overwhelmed, you have to ask yourself one question. And the question you must ask yourself is this: when did I last give myself time? And if I feel overwhelmed, can I give myself time? And where can I give myself that time? These are questions we have to ask ourselves. And sometimes it involves communication, communicating with our loved ones that we might need some time, communicating with our boss that we might need some time, communicating with our, friends and family, mentors, that we might need some time. And when I say time, time to focus on your foundation. Some of us go through life not having a foundation. For me, my foundation is my faith. For me, my foundation is, going to the gym. For me, my foundation is having an ice bath every day. For me, my foundation is meditation and journaling. Like these things are my foundations, you know, and everybody has different foundations. But when did you last give thought to even the word foundation? When did that last matter to you? This is a question to ask when you're feeling overwhelmed. What is my foundation? And bear in mind, the foundation is something that must be tended to on a daily basis. It's not something you do ad hoc and as and when needed. It's not a when required. It's not. The reality and fact of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is that your foundation is something you must tend to on a regular basis so that there's no cracks in your foundation. And if there are cracks in your foundation, this is when things start to crumble and you feel like you can't take it anymore because you don't have a strong foundation. And I want you to think about this. When you are able to disconnect a bit and reconnect with yourself and reflect on what does it mean for me to have a foundation, that's when you start to understand what's missing. And that's when you have to now realize and recognize that only you can solve that problem. And when I mean only you can solve the problem, that doesn't mean you don't get anyone else involved. Maybe you might need to reach out to a friend and say, hey, I need you to make me accountable to making sure I build this as my stable foundation. I want to pray more. I want to eat more healthily. I want to do X. I want to do Y and Z. And hold me to account. And do you know what makes it more powerful? This is a tip. I do this on a weekly basis. I set my input objectives for the week and I share it with maybe one or two people and say, look, if I do not achieve these things, I will pay you. Name your price. And that gets their buy in. Then they're interested. And then they'll be checking, hey, did you complete this, by the way? Some of you might shy away from that. But sometimes in life, you have to put your money where your mouth is. And if you're really serious, it's a good idea to put money behind it. But anyway, so aside from that tip, I think that the better you get at disconnecting from the outside world and the better you get at reconnecting with yourself, the sooner you can solve your overwhelm problem. And additionally, to those of you who are feeling like you're actually, before I go into laziness, I want to tell you a few more stories about how I've been able to solve my overwhelm problem. I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel overwhelmed because you can't overwhelm me. Nothing in life can overwhelm me. Nothing. I don't believe anything can. I really don't. And if I am overwhelmed, so if it's like calamity, right? Fair enough. That might be overwhelming, but I know who I can turn to. And if I can't turn to anyone, then me personally, as for me in my house, I can turn to God. I can turn to Christ. That's me. So I'm good. But that aside, when I was last overwhelmed, maybe 7, 8 months ago. I was working as an operations manager. I got sacked from my job, and getting sacked wasn't nice, but it was the best thing that happened to me. And I got sacked because I was unable to fulfill all of the needs of the business. I wasn't able to fulfill it. It was difficult because I was pulled left, right, center, and sometimes I can't account for how I spent my time. I can't always account for it because it's like 1 second I get a call here, and then I need to do this, then I need to do that. But like my boss had been an operations manager before, and he had done things differently. And so like for me in that role, needless to say, I didn't thrive. And by losing the job, I was able to reconnect more with myself. But I could have done that whilst I was working. But I only had to, it took me to be sacked to realize. And I don't want anyone else going through that situation where you have to get sacked to realize that you need to reconnect with yourself. And sometimes you're in a job that's not for you. Fortunately for me, when I got sacked, I have a clinical pharmacy degree. I'm a pharmacist. And the pandemic taught me that and taught the world that healthcare is always going to have a job if you're in healthcare. because people are always going to get sick. So they're always going to need a pharmacist. They're always going to need a doctor. They're always going to need a nurse. So essentially, I fell back into clinical pharmacy, but this things were different in the sense that I could think now. And the better you get at thinking, and I don't mean just wishy-washy thinking, but thinking in a very, very specific direction. The better you get at thinking in a particular direction, the better your life is going to be. Because if you're able to focus, then you can achieve something. You can't achieve things without focus. It's not really possible. Now, some of you may argue that, yes, I can achieve things without being focused. Well, I'd like to see how big of a thing you achieve. Good luck to you. But to those of you who actually understand that everything you can see around you right now, including even the way I am built physically, it required focus for a prolonged time. It required delayed gratification, right? It required delayed gratification. You had to delay the feeling of, oh yeah, I'm going to look good one day. I had to delay that. And to be honest, I found new ways to fall in love with the process. And in terms of like going back to being overwhelmed, I fell in love with just being a transformation coach, like trying to help as many people as possible to do free coaching. And if you're interested in free coaching, please email me. I am currently delivering free coaching. Obviously, takes a session for free, but like, please drop me an email. I'll be more than happy to deliver free coaching. I'm currently doing WhatsApp marketing almost every single day. Need to get more consistent with that, but it's a work in progress. And there's been so many things going on this week. I've done the most coaching this week than I have in any other week this year. So like, there's grace. So give me some grace. But that aside, and today's Sunday, day of rest. So I will just set my input objectives for next week, but I will try and chill today. But anyway, so like, yeah, and on that note, like me saying I'll try and chill today, like I used to take my weekends off as religion, but now my weekends I'm up early. I'm like, going to the gym, like setting my tasks, my goals, trying to see what work I can get done. And I only realized last week that I need to chill once a week because even God rested on a Sunday, or at least work 6 days. And Jim Rohn even said that, like, if you guys know who Jim Rohn is, or if you don't know who he is, please look him up. He's an amazing guy. He's dead now, but I still listen to his content because Jim Rohn is like the godfather of motivational speaking. But that aside, Jim Rohn even said that God worked 6 days and rested on the seventh. That's a decent principle to live. It's not a bad principle. But when it comes to work, like God's image of work, right, is like creation, being creative. And my image of work now is so much more creative. And I think this will also help with being overwhelmed. Like when you're doing something that you are drawn to, you are pulled to, you are excited to do, right? When you're doing these things, like it doesn't feel like work anymore. And but how do you get there? By thinking, disconnecting from others, reconnecting with yourself so that you can move forwards and move upwards. Now, let's talk about laziness. Now, laziness is a hard one to define, but in 2025, I would say you are lazy if you are healthy, or at least you feel healthy enough. You know you can deliver more value to people, but you'd rather just chill and serve yourself on the sofa watching TV. Like, I'd say that's lazy because, like, I mean, and I don't need to define and diagnose laziness. Lazy people know they're lazy. Or if you don't know you're lazy, just ask yourself the question: am I being like, how much time am I allocating to this? Like, how much energy am I giving the TV at the moment? Am I giving the TV more than, let's say, I mean, to be honest, it's different for everybody. I don't even watch TV. I watch TV occasionally, and even then, it's like I don't know when I'm gonna watch it next. So like for me, I don't watch TV. Although I might, I've got an Xbox here. I might play some games today. I've had to ask permission, and this is really good, by the way. So if you're feeling lazy, one thing you can do is like be create some consequences for your laziness. Create some consequences, because if you don't create consequences, nothing changes. So in my situation, I said to my friend Barvik, one of my best friends, yo, I need to ask for your permission every time I play the Xbox. And if I lie to you, then may God take my destiny and give it to somebody else. I literally made a pact that will I will like get his permission to be lazy. I seek other people's permission to be lazy now. So then we can track how often am I requesting this. So I don't really request to play games that much. But like I asked him for his permission to play games. I've probably played Xbox for like 15 minutes this weekend. I just haven't had the time. I hope I'll get the time this today because it's chill day. But anyways, that aside, like if you're feeling lazy, like it's really simple. I'd love for you to try it. Let me know whether it worked or whether it didn't work. But please just outsource that to someone else and just be like, hey, like, I'm spending a lot of time doing this activity. It's a lazy trait and it's a trait I don't want to have. Like like if I play Xbox, I will. This is the consequence. If I play Xbox and I do not tell you, this is the consequence. It might be £150 that you'll pay, or it might be like I fast for 24 hours, or I'm just giving you ideas, or it might be like I'll go for a run, the next day by fire and by force. But you have to set up these like fail safes that stop you from doing activities that do not move the needle forwards for you. So yeah. So guys, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you've got some ideas out of this. Like in terms of overwhelm, the main message really and truly is that you need to just disconnect with social media, disconnect with, sometimes you might need to disconnect with people and communicate that, please, so you can reconnect with yourself and think. If you can think and focus on something that is of value to people, then you will start to have some creative juices. And you just need to think about it long enough, because we are all designed to be creative, right? Anyone can stand up. Yeah, sorry, the last video like disconnected. I lost my phone ran out of memory. But anyway, yeah, so like anyone can do what I'm doing. Like, so creativity is not technically hard, although you feel it like it is, because you need to disconnect from whatever. You need to disconnect just for some time to just review. You need to disconnect and review. Anyway, and then secondly, in terms of laziness, create some consequences. Create some consequences. Anyway, hope this video blesses you. Like, subscribe, do your thing. Please place a comment if you find it useful. And yeah, we'll stay tuned for the next video, guys. Peace out.